And I took off my engagement ring and I just knew my life was going to be beautiful. Like, I just had this feeling, this like clouds parting feeling.
You hear the doves singing.
Exactly. And I just knew it. I like put my engagement ring down, which I loved, on the coffee table, which I did not love. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. Like, and he said to me,
waiting for you to be like, I took off my ring and my life was over.
No. And he said to me, like, you know, it's going to be fine. And I said, no, it has to be great because this is fine. We're in fine. Like, it's fine. But it's our responsibility to go make our lives great now.
Well, this episode of the Moving On Method is one for the record books. Not only did the story that both Olivia and Jenny got to tell, they are sisters, the founders of the Fresh Starts Registry, the registry that they started for people going through divorce who are looking to start their lives over. Fascinating concept. But their individual stories are, wow, just powerful. And I was so intrigued by them and looking forward to having this conversation because I myself, and I'm such a big believer in fresh starts. New beginnings are so powerful. I'm always looking ahead in situations where, yeah, life may have gotten you down, but there's still this opportunity for more. And they so echo those same sentiments. And you're going to just be blown away by the incredible free resources they're sharing with people going through divorce every day. I'm so excited for you to meet Olivia and Jenny. Let's just take it to the episode because this is a good one, my friends. The best duo in the divorce game, everybody.
Oh my
Jenny
gosh.
and Olivia.
Put that on our website.
I know, Michelle. Yeah, we're gonna quote you.
T-shirt.
We're gonna quote you. That just made our whole year.
Yeah, that's the new byline of the website. I love it. Thank you so much for having us. We were so excited to be here.
Like I was saying offline before, the fact that you're doing what you're doing, and never mind the amazingness of your brand, which we'll get into, the content that you guys are creating and the truth bombs, like. You guys are now showing up first on my feed every single day. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I've been doing this 8 years. I've been separated 8.5. And I'm like, this is so on point.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you.
We
appreciate that.
You know, Olivia started posting these wonderful threads and they were getting so much attention. And we've always been really careful about what goes on our social media and really intentional. We come from a social media background. We ran a company together where we did social media marketing. And she started posting them on her Instagram. And I was like, Olivia, why are you not posting these on Fresh Starts? And she was like, oh yeah, I should do that. And so we started doing that. And I think it's fascinating to see the response. It's been really beautiful. And it's such a supportive space.
Yeah.
I think why I have had personally the responses, like I've always said for years, way before I even got divorced, that I'm like addicted to new beginnings. I love a fresh start. I love a change. There's something so powerful energetically about it. And your company, which is called Fresh Starts, the name alone really spoke to me, but I want to read you something I found. People often view new beginnings as an opportunity to distance themselves from past failures and shortcomings. This can lead to a psychological reset, with individuals experiencing a renewed sense of optimism, self-efficacy, and motivation. And I feel like not only does that come through in your work personally, but obviously with the idea of fresh starts, that's exactly what you're helping people do. So I would love to hear the story behind it, obviously, and how two sisters got involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just had a thought that I have like two favorite stories to tell. One is how I met my husband and one is how we started the company. And I think I'm going to get to tell both of them today. And I'm excited about that.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, Michelle. You know, it's so important to us too that we are forward thinking, right? That we are thinking about fresh starts. You're not going to come to fresh starts to be angry and bitter and man hating. That's just not what we do. And so our origin story, we kind of have two, and then they crossed over to create this baby of ours, this Fresh Starts. So my background's in marketing and PR. I've had a marketing agency since 2013. I was a middle school teacher before that. And then I had my first son. And as many women listening will know, I was doing everything. I was taking care of my son and teaching. And, my ex would come home and sit on the couch and watch YouTube. And so I was like, well, this is not sustainable. So I left teaching, which I loved and was really a hard, fresh start for me. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
The same thing.
What did you teach?
I taught elementary special ed in New York City for years.
Wow.
Moved
Okay.
to Florida, started teaching here, and I left when my daughter was 6 months old. I left
Yep.
Yeah.
teaching.
Almost
Went
you
into
made it a year.
marketing, and I went to divorce.
Same journey. Same journey, Michelle. We're soul sisters.
Study the pipeline there.
Yeah, so I did the same thing, and I had my son, and I literally we are from Long Island. I live on Long Island. There you go, soul
Where are you
sisters.
from?
Rockville Center.
Okay, we're
Okay.
from Huntington.
We're from Huntington.
Yeah,
Stepdad, you did the church in Rockville Center. He did like all these refurbishments. I think so. Yeah.
lived on Lawrence Hill Road for a little bit.
that's so
Oh my God,
funny.
we went to Eastwoods, like
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
where she
funny.
That's
so
where she
small,
taught
small,
us.
world,
Yeah.
small world.
Huntington's the best. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my
The
God. We love
best. Yeah,
obsessed.
I
Never
love it.
leaving. And so I literally was like, well, how can I make money? And to his credit, my ex-husband was very supportive at the time, probably because he knew I'd be home more doing more things in the house. And so I would go around to local businesses and offer to do their social media. One thing led to another. I'm an incredibly determined person. Ended up with a 6-figure marketing agency after a couple years, and just kind of like would lead with relationships, right? So I would be pulled into television shows and movies and projects, and loved doing marketing. And then we had our second son. We bought a house, all of the things that you do. We literally had a white picket fence.
Mhm.
And I was very slowly dying inside emotionally, not really realizing what was happening, right?
Yeah.
And I was literally, I remember distinctly writing in a Facebook group, does anybody else do everything? I'm like, I literally do everything. And the other
She
moms
did.
were like, no, we don't do everything. Like, my ex never even gave a bath, didn't change diapers, didn't do anything.
Olivia broke her foot while she was carrying my younger nephew, and she fell and broke her foot, and she was fine, but she was on one foot for a number of months,
Mhm.
and he didn't step up at all. I was driving out from Queens to come bring my nephew to school because she couldn't drive.
Right.
This very much sounds like the silent divorce that everybody's talking
Yeah.
about now on social
Yeah.
media. Yeah. And super painful. I always say it is so much more painful to be lonely in a relationship than alone.
Horrible.
And
Horrible.
he was a nice guy, right? He was the good
Good on
guy,
paper.
right? Good on
Nice
paper,
Jewish boy.
nice, and he was an engineer, musician, right? So all these things. And then I kind of just had a reckoning where I could see that I wasn't going to be emotionally okay. So I started therapy in March of 2019. And by April of 2019, my marriage was over. So it didn't take very long.
Give a girl a little self-enlightenment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I said no for the first time ever in my marriage and I remember he wanted to go to a music festival. And I was like, no, I don't want to take 2 little kids to a music festival. That doesn't sound fun.
I'd rather shave my eyebrows off.
Yeah, literally, Michelle. And so my marriage ended, and it was like one of those things that we were not fighters, right? So it was a lot of that silent divorce, like you said. I love that phrase for that. And so I had a moment where I just kind of like lost it, and he was like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Well, I think we should go to couples counseling." And he was like, "No, I don't think so. Everything's fine." And I was like, "No, everything's not fine. Sorry." And so I called my sister. She came out from Queens. I kind of just like had a reckoning with like, okay, well, it is what it is. I knew I could always move back to my parents' house. I was safe. Like I had family support. And then he decided he was leaving. He came home from work and said, I'm going to go. I'm going to leave. And the funny part of the story is that when we had this big fight, I called we come from divorce. So our parents are divorced since I was 10. We have an amazing stepdad. I called my parents and I said, something happened. I think that my marriage is heading towards divorce. My mom, my stepdad, and my biological dad said, you need to get into couples counseling like right away.
Mhm.
He called his parents
who were married
at the time, and his father since passed away, but they were married, and said, Olivia and I got in this big fight, whatever. And they said, come home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
That's what he did. And so we ended up living together, as most people do, for a few months, and he moved out in August. And so when he moved out in August, it was really when my emotional shit hit the fan, right? So I was like, oh my God, I just realized I was in an incredibly toxic relationship for a decade. And
Right. And you were holding it together for so long.
It took a little longer than August.
Yeah, it took a while, but
it took a little longer than August. Yeah.
And so I remember he moved out and he was a musician. So a large part of our house was musical instruments and his studio. So everything was off the walls. The studio was empty. The house was half empty. And the other half of the stuff was from my wedding registry, right? Our towels that were monogrammed, our sheets, our plates. And I remember Jenny came over the day after he moved out. We cleaned the whole house and it felt like a ghost town. It was like so haunting to live there.
Yeah.
And I was grateful that I still had the marital residence, but it's really hard to heal, right? In the house that you were hurt in.
Absolutely.
So I had this idea and I was like, hey, I had a baby registry twice. I had a wedding registry. I really need new stuff now. Like I want new towels. I want new pillows. I don't want to sleep in the same sheets I conceived my kid. Like, no. And so I Googled, right? I just was like divorce registry. And the only things that came up were articles from Vogue and Elle that said, why don't we have a divorce registry? And I'm, like I said, I'm a Pisces, I'm a dreamer, I'm a doer. I was like, well, let's do this.
So you're not just a dreamer.
No, I do. Jenny calls me the more machine. I'm always doing more. And so I called Jenny and I literally first I journaled and I said, I want to start Fresh Starts Registry as a one-stop shop to begin again for divorce, right? So the items you need and the experts you need to make this easier. Because I thought coming from everybody in our family is divorced, that I would be like, okay, I'll get through divorce. I know what it's like. No, of course, it's trauma, right? It's trauma all around. So I journaled this. I called Jenny and Jenny was like, I love this idea, but at the time, and I'll let her explain, we were not working together at the time. She was on the road much of the year with her job, and she had just gotten engaged to her longtime fiance 2 weeks before my marriage ended.
Yeah.
So in April. And so she was like, I love this idea. We don't know how to build a startup. We don't have any funds. We don't have time for this. And you have a marketing agency and 2 little kids, but let's consider it. Like, let's think about it.
Right.
So that's what happened. I'll let Jenny take over her side of the story here.
So,
before we hear from you, Jenny, which I'm really excited about, I just want to say, I feel like I'm watching a documentary right now that I don't want to turn off. So
that is the best
documentary on the hustle.
We are clip out so much of this podcast. So yes, 2 weeks before Olivia's marriage fell apart, I finally got engaged to my boyfriend, who I think we'd been together for 10 years. 8 years at that point. He'd had the ring for 2 years. I did know that. And he finally asked me to marry him. Or actually, he asked me if I wanted the ring, was to be precise, is what he asked. And
you want this thing?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You think you want to wear it?
You want this thing, basically. And I said maybe, because I thought that was like really cute and coy. And now I'm like, oh, girl, no. And so we've been together. We got together when I was 22. I guess I was about 30 by this point. And we got engaged. And it was like, it hadn't been an easy ride. We had a good relationship. We got along well, but this sort of getting to the next thing hadn't been an easy ride. And so we get engaged. Olivia's marriage breaks up, and then Olivia has this idea. Then the pandemic hits, and I was on the road. I worked in events, like large corporate events. And so the part that I loved of my job was going to camp and getting to see all my friends for a month and, staying in a hotel. Like, that's the best.
Yeah.
And that came to a crashing halt. And we were still doing events online, but this is when my sister realized she could get her hooks in me. And she's like, I can pay you. She's like, you can come work for me now. Because she'd been trying to get me to come work at her social media agency for all these years. So we start working together and we see that it's a really good thing. We work really well together. We 5x'd our revenue. Like, we did it works very well. I do graphics and operations, so it works well. And I'm in this relationship with my ex, and we hit our 10-year mark in March 2021. And then in June 2021, we just have this reckoning, this come to Jesus conversation. We had a wedding planned for May 2020, which COVID canceled.
Wait,
we had tried to.
Can I just interrupt you? You had a wedding plan that was a huge wedding.
Yeah.
It was at Ohika.
Long Island. It was
Oh,
supposed
yeah.
to be
The castle. That was like,
Not
no, it
Ohika,
was at
Vanderbilt.
Ohika.
That's what I
I
meant.
would have loved that. Oh my God.
No,
No, it was at the Vanderbilt Museum.
Oh,
that was
Yeah.
amazing.
I was thinking
Yeah.
castle in my head. It was at the Vanderbilt Museum.
My sister she
I-
makes my ideas big. I ran a 10K and she's like, you ran a marathon. I'm like, no, I didn't. Don't tell people that.
It was at the Vanderbilt. It's
down
supposed to
the
be
block. So
Yeah.
yes, 10K is
Yeah.
a marathon.
it was supposed to be at the Vanderbilt, but also Jenny's the middle child, and I like to point that out that she never got her spotlight. So this
Right.
wedding
And I'm a
was
Leo.
supposed to be her
I need my
moment,
spotlight.
and I threw her bridal shower in the week before the lockdown. So that was the last time like people saw everybody. And so
Yeah.
she was planning this huge, and she was a wedding officiant for 10 years.
And
So-
I worked
so-
wedding invitations.
Right. And so
Yeah.
she was in the wedding industry. So
Mhm.
it's not just that her wedding was pushed off. This was like a really big deal that her wedding was
Right.
pushed off.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. My sister called me in like April and she was like, hey, maybe you want to call the venue and try to get another date. And I think I growled at her in response. I was like, absolutely not. But we did. We pushed it to September and then we pushed it again, kind of. And then we decided we don't really need that. That's okay. Let's just have a baby. The best idea for saving a relationship. And so I wanted to have a baby and we're sort of discussing pursuing that, like in initial negotiations, I would say. And something just wasn't working. And that's not a euphemism either, but something just wasn't working in the relationship. And we just sat down and I said, like, what's going on? And I knew I had a sort of like a escape plan. And so I said, let's talk about this. And my ex said to me, well, I don't love you anymore. And I don't think we should have a baby together.
And so this is the reel that you created in your wedding dress that I saw that I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, he really, that is what he said to me was, I don't think I love you anymore. And it wasn't the first time he'd said that to me, but it was the first time I really heard it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like the second time. I mean, he didn't say it that many times that I didn't hear it, but it was the first time I really heard it. And it made sense because it didn't feel like he loved me. Right. And we sat there and we had a really good conversation. And I mean, we're still on okay terms now. Like, we're not close, but we had a really good conversation. And I took off my engagement ring and I just knew my life was going to be beautiful. Like, I just had this feeling, this like clouds parting feeling.
You hear the doves singing.
Exactly. And I just knew it. I like put my engagement ring down, which I loved, on the coffee table, which I did not love. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. Like, and he said to me,
waiting for you to be like, I took off my ring and my life was over.
and he said to me, like, you know, it's going to be fine. And I said, no, it has to be great because this is fine. We're in fine. Like, it's fine. But it's our responsibility to go make our lives great now. That's our job. And so the next morning, my dad happened to be coming. I lived in Astoria. My dad lived in Manhattan. He happened to be coming to drive me with me to Long Island. We packed up all my stuff and we drove out. And then I moved into this really sweet little house and I started filling my cart with everything that I needed because I left with just my clothing, basically. Like, I didn't really like any of the furniture in our house. There's stuff that I would have taken, like the $300 rice cooker that we got for our wedding would have been nice, you know. But again, now I live in Scotland, so that plug wouldn't even worked. So
wait, airball. You're in Scotland?
Yeah,
she'll get to that.
I could get there.
Good story.
Better, you guys.
Just wait. Wait.
And so I'm in this apartment. I'm filling up my cart. It's like $10,000 worth of stuff, you know, a couch and a table and a mattress and a bed and everything you need. And I kind of like sheepishly, I'm sitting on the floor with just Wi-Fi in my apartment and called my sister and was like, okay, that registry idea is a really good idea. I don't know how we're going to make it happen. I have no idea how to build something like this. I don't have the expertise, but like, let's see what we can do. And we sat down. So I moved into that place in July and we launched by August, and we just building as much as we can with what we have.
I always say to people, because, you know, everyone says like, oh, don't look back. You're not going that way.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do look back and you connect certain dots and you see like the besheret of it all, which like means the meant to be.
No, we know what that means, but they might not.
Another development in our relationship that I'm really excited about. But like, I have chills. Like, in hindsight, everything does really work out the way it was supposed to put
Yeah.
you on the path of where you need to go, which is, for me, unfortunately, my childhood was very similar. Parents divorced, but it was a very traumatic 10-year divorce.
Mm.
It was all so ugly and brutal at the time. I ended up estranged from my father by the time I was in middle school. And I lived my childhood angry, resentful, jealous, had the best stepdad in the world. He died when I was 23. And I look back at my life and I'm like, you know what? I couldn't be who I am now
Mm-mm.
as a mom, as a parent, as a second wife, had I not been in
Yeah.
that hell. And like,
Yeah.
that is the fuel that gives every fresh start the power that it needs.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the work that we do and what we write about is how to take that inventory, right? You don't have to go back and live that trauma again, but what can you learn, right? Like I always say, there's no mistakes. I tell my kids this all the time. There's no such thing as mistakes. There's just lessons, right? What
Mhm.
can I learn
Data
from this?
points.
Data points we talk a lot about, like when in our coaching and education. So yeah. And Jenny even has more to that story that we'll get to also,
So
but
that's, that's how the company sort of came together. We launched it, we built it on, we exist on Squarespace. I've built everything that you see. Our registry is powered by Amazon because the reason that we found out that there are no divorce registries is that registries don't make money. That's not like a money making,
Right.
company.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we also wanted to protect people. Unfortunately, Amazon is the best option for now. We wanted to protect people's addresses. And on Amazon, when you make a registry, you can keep your address private. And that
Right.
was really important to us. And they can also get everything on there. They
Yeah.
can build everything that they need. So we
It
have
makes a
bundles.
ton of
We have,
sense.
bundles
Yeah.
that they can just go to Amazon and sort of click add to cart, and it makes it very easy for them. We're trying to take the overwhelm out of the Fresh Start, right? It's like, I don't know what sheets I need. I don't know what sheets are good. When you are going through a moment like this, you don't have like brain bandwidth for all of these little decisions. So we're just trying to help with that. And so, yeah, that's how the company came to be.
I think it's really powerful. And I think back to my own experience where I think, Olivia, I'm a lot like you, where I'm like, more, go, move, do it, get it done.
Yeah.
And I fall apart later.
Yep.
And I didn't put enough. I have ADHD and anxiety and
Yeah.
complex PTSD to add to the
Mhm.
mix, but my anxiety felt calmed by just doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes there was no thought. And like, had I had a list to follow or
Mhm.
some sort of strategy, which is precisely why I
What
do the
you
work
do.
that I do now
Yeah.
to help women have that. But it would have been incredible and so helpful for me in that space that I was in. So
Yeah.
so what year was this that you started this
20
business?
August 2021. So we're coming up on 4 years.
Wow.
I know.
She's not a baby anymore.
No, she's getting
she's
there. And she's
not.
grown a lot.
Not a girl, not yet a woman.
No.
Exactly.
And so where have you seen, for your consumers, your clients, where have you seen the biggest impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. So number one is we don't collect user data on anybody who uses the registry side. It's really safety and security was number one for us, right? We know from our experience with the divorce and talking to people that a lot of women especially are hesitant to ask for help because they're afraid that somebody might find out, right? Or that somebody will, get in touch with their ex. So we don't, we collect cookies like any regular website, but we don't collect you don't have to have, your email given to us to download our free ebooks or, Amazon collects all your info for the registry. So that was really important to us. And so what we have seen is everything that, growth has been interesting. We've had a lot of people say like, how have you grown? And we want numbers and stats. And we're like, well, we can give you some things, but some of it is just people telling us things that they use, right? So like we have amazing stories of people who have used the registry, and I'm happy to share some of those.
Yeah.
But growth wise, we now have about 40,000 page views a month, which is amazing. Our social media reaches over 20 million people a month at this point, and we've it's interesting. We launched in August. By February, we were already on NBC because there was nothing like this before. So we've been covered in every major media outlet, and people have a lot of opinions on divorce registries. And then what we have realized over the last 4 years is it's not just the divorce registry, which has a lot of parts emotionally to it, but it's the divorce education, right? And support. And so we ended up talking to a lot of women who didn't know a lot of these terms or how they could afford divorce or all of these things. And so we do a lot of work on providing free support, free resources. We pretty much spend a lot of our time writing ebooks. We're writing a book right now and making sure that you can come to Fresh Starts and find the support you need. And then we have our amazing expert membership. So that was something that was really important to us, is that you could come find vetted experts for all parts of your divorce journey. So we did a lot of research into this, and most people don't know, but for every life change you go through, you actually use about 7 different experts. And if you think about divorce, that makes sense, right? You have your divorce lawyer, perhaps a divorce coach, mortgage lender, financial planner, realtor,
Therapist,
right? Therapist, kids therapist, the list goes on and on.
Co-parenting coach.
Right, all of it. And so we basically, the way that we make money is that we took all of our marketing and PR skills and we brought them to a membership level. So you can become a Fresh Starts expert for $25 a month. You get your SEO optimized profile. You get warm referrals from us. You get networking, and you can promote your events with us as well. And then for $55 a month, you get all of that. Plus, we have this amazing community membership. So we have co-working 3 days a week, business coaching 2 days a week, and we actually do press and media relations for our experts.
And unlimited podcast appearances on our podcast too.
Yeah, because for us, we are like a rising tide type of company, right? So we believe building a bigger table and all of that these good metaphors. So for us, if our experts can shine in the world, then we're shining in the world too. And so we actually make all of our experts sign a waiver that they are inclusive and shame-free and judgmental-free. And we love our experts. We have experts. We have over 100 and something experts at this point. We are 130. We're the largest expert guide of experts at this point. And it's just an amazing community that we've built. So that's been really beautiful to watch that grow alongside everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the perfect blend of everything you need. I mean, I obviously have taken a look at your site. It's empowering. There's free advice, which you can't get enough of in this space and time when you were kind of thinking of leaving or you've just left and you don't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And there's community. So people who, not your experts, but the people who join or decide to take advantage of all that you have to offer, are they offered a community sense of experience, or they get to stay anonymous?
That's a great question. Jenny, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So we are not divorce coaches. Well, Olivia is a divorce coach, but she's not a practicing divorce coach.
No.
And so we were really careful about that because we're not qualified. And we're like, it's not us. So we have some really amazing experts that do offer community options, but our Instagram is sort of that place for us. And you know what, as you can see right now, that is blowing up that community space. And Olivia also gets a lot of DMs from women and refers them to people. She also offers these free 15-minute divorce resource consults. So when you are coming out, because right, coming through a divorce, I mean, you're like, who do I talk to? What do I need? What questions do I ask? And so Olivia will meet with you for 15 minutes and then send you a huge email of all the people that she thinks you should be connected to, our resources, PDFs, free ebooks, things like that. That's sort of where the community lives. I mean, one day when we can have like a, therapist on staff or a divorce coach on staff, that would be amazing. But at this point, so much of it is about responsibility and ethical responsibility that we have to people. And I was thinking about this the other day, like, we didn't start as divorce experts and we didn't call ourselves divorce experts. We were just two sisters trying to be everybody's sister, right? Because I called divorce lawyers for her and she's called therapists for me. Like, we do that for each other. That's all we were trying to start out as. And now 4 years later, obviously our experience with divorce is very different than it started as. But we were like, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, we never claimed to be that until we were that.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a similar trajectory also, because it was like I didn't get divorced and wake up one day and was like, I'm just going to be an expert in this field.
Right.
It happened very organically, where when I started sharing, there wasn't a lot of that on social media yet. And so people were gravitating. And like you guys, I was never going to hold myself to be anything professionally that I wasn't. So I got certified upon certified upon certified. And then
Right.
the book deal came and the podcast blew up. And then I was on a press tour for my book, and I was on Good Morning America, which was like basically the pinnacle of my career.
Yeah,
Like
that's pretty
everything's
amazing.
been downhill. So no, I'm just kidding. But what's his name that interviewed me that was since, fired because he's
Yep.
having an affair with
He
whatever
has
her
his
name
own
was.
podcast now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Don
He
Lemon.
looks at me and he's like,
No,
divorce
the other one.
expert, huh? How do you claim to be one of those or something like that? And I
Yeah.
was like, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, it was just ironic that he
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
the boot shortly thereafter for being so mischievous.
Yeah.
But it is a strange term, but also one that like I know for myself, it came with so much personal and professional experience and grit and like pain, sweat, tears, all of it that I hold that title so proudly.
Absolutely. I mean, how many women have you probably talked to, Michelle, in the last 8 years?
Thousands.
Right.
Thousands. And, like for the podcast to have had the reach and the impact that it's had all these years now, it's like, man, there are days where, my algorithm is quiet and social media isn't blowing up. And I'm like, what am I even doing? And then somebody stops me in the street and they're like, you literally changed my life. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. It's working.
Working.
A little bit of
Totally.
imposter syndrome, but you don't know until you're going through it how isolating and lonely and all consuming and confusing it can be because all the misinformation on social media or your parents and family are always going to give you the worst advice. It's a lot. So to be able to have something like what you guys have created is just incredible. And I'm very sad and kicking myself for not knowing about it sooner. It's
Well,
like I'm doing it a service.
It's amazing. Like they say it takes 5 years for a company, like it's kind of the make or break phase. If you can last 5 years, you can. And at like the 3.5 year mark, we were like, oh, things are changing. We could see it in the company. Things are changing. I mean, we can finally like pay ourselves and things like that. You can watch it change and it's fascinating because it has taken a little bit and we needed, and at the time, 6 months in, a year in, you're like, why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? And you're like, you just got to stay the course. And the thing is like, when I was 7 and my parents were getting divorced, I wanted so badly to talk to other kids whose parents were getting divorced. So I'm not surprised that this is my life's work, right? Because from my side, like I don't see myself as a divorce expert. I see myself as a divorce support expert because I've been through my own stuff and that was a lot. But I watched my sister navigate this and we did it together. And I know what to say and what to do. And I know how to help people support their loved ones. And that's so much a part of what we do too, is educating the people that love people going through divorce.
It's interesting that you knew at 7 what being able to talk about it would mean for you, because I remember being like silenced. Like my mom's whole thing was nobody's going to know. You don't talk about it at school.
Wow.
And it was like, it's no wonder why I'm so vocal about it now, because I was shamed into submission, with that.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, Michelle, you were the really, I'm gonna say the first to really go on social media and talk about what it's like to be a mom. I think it was you and Rachel Sobel. That was like it. That's all I had, right? And so it was I was watching you, and I was the first of my friends to get divorced, and I'm like, who the hell do I turn to? And so your content, when people are listening and when you say somebody will tell you like you saved their life, like you really have saved people's lives, for the last 8 years. Like I just hope that that you have changed the divorce industry and the way people talk about divorce with all of the work you've done, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Like truly.
Yeah.
And like
it makes me happy. No, for sure. I think, but when you're coming from a place of passion and love and not necessarily like focused on the numbers, it's when it's your impact that makes the biggest difference for you, then, and you're overthinking it, I think that's when you're doing something right. Because I just want to make sure, my community has been with me through separation, divorce, adjusting to co-parenting, going from having a bad co-parenting relationship to a great one, getting remarried, blending a family, so I'm constantly trying to like give everybody what they need. And it's great that people rely on it. And it's amazing that people still want to hear from me and my story. But I love meeting people that are adding so much value to the game. I'm sure, as you know, there's so much out there in the divorce talk world that is doing such a disservice to so many. Something you said at the very beginning really, really struck the biggest chord with me, which was it's not ex bashing, it's not hating on what you've experienced. It's just trying to make you better. And that's what my focus has been. And it's been like kicked in my face so much that I'm not out here bashing men or narcissists or this, that, and the other for likes, which could probably make me a lot more popular. I'm very true to what I believe in, which is the problem is the problem, not the person. And we can move forward from it anyway.
100%. And that's a lot of the writing that I've been doing lately is exploring those really small nuanced moments of the end of a marriage, right? Or coercive, control, or those things that are like, people don't talk about. What is it like to lie in bed next to the person that you're about to separate from, right? And I really dig deep to think back to my moments like that and write about it, because I know if I went through it, somebody else went through it. And the amount of messages I get from people that are like, I've never seen anybody talk about this, or you put in words what I had in my head for so many years. It's just wild, right? We need to talk about all of this. And I think you're right, Michelle. Women are still silenced, right? They're still told not to talk about this. Divorce is still stigmatized, even though 50% of first marriages end in divorce. So we're here to be like, no, we're going to just talk about it. We don't care, right?
Mention it all.
Mention it all. Exactly. What our favorite show. Exactly.
Obviously. I know it's true. I just literally right before I turned on this, podcast with you guys to record was with a client who is based in the Middle East. She's in Kuwait. And she was like, I know divorce has a stigma everywhere, but you have no idea what it's like here. And I'm like, I've worked with many clients in the Middle East and in India, where that tends to be the area where divorce is so shameful.
Yes.
And I said to her, in spite of knowing the stigma that you were going to face, you still made this choice. You know how badass that is?
It's really strong.
Like, I think it's incredible. The bigger the stigma, like, the worse on them. Man, I'm just so inspired by my clients every day.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I love that. Yeah.
I love that.
If you're like me, you could definitely use some extra cash right now. So if you're sitting on old engagement jewelry that's been collecting dust in a drawer that you're like, why do I even still have this? I've got news for you. The experts at Worthy can help you turn that into cash. The cash you could probably use right now on your single parenting journey. It's risk-free, it's fast, literally no more than 2 weeks until you are joining one of the 80,000 people who have already had their jewelry turned into cash. Thousands of people have left verified 5-star reviews. This is a legit process that will make you feel so much lighter and your pockets a lot fuller. Trust me, these guys are the real deal. So all you need to do is visit worthy.com/moms, and I'm going to give you an extra $100 on me if your jewelry sells for over $1,500. That's worthy.com/moms, and I've got you covered. Where do we go from here? I don't want this documented.
Well, I'll tell you how I ended up in Scotland.
Oh yeah. Hello.
I'll tell. If you really make me. So my brother. This is a story, and this is funny because you were saying like everything that there's no mistakes. Like every step that you've ever taken has gotten you here. So our brother went to university in Scotland, and the story goes that a college pamphlet fell out of the guidance counselor's bookshelf and hit him in the head, and he picked it up, and it was for St. Andrews.
God, is that you?
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
And so our parents have been divorced for 20 years by that point, maybe a little bit less. And they have a pretty good relationship. They're friendly with each other. And they both say our brother is our baby brother. So he's the youngest from our parents. And they said that they were playing chicken of who was going to stop him from going to Scotland. My dad thought my mom would, and my mom thought my dad would. Nobody stopped him. So he went to university over here. And in 2010, my mom and I got on a plane and we came to visit him, March of 2010. It was his first year. And we went to St. Andrews and we came back to Edinburgh for a couple of days. And we were going to this museum. I have the directions to the museum, to the National Gallery of Scotland. I didn't understand that building is actually 2 museums. It's 2 spaces. And we walked into the RSA, which is the Royal Scottish Academy, thinking it was the other museum. And there was 2 people working at the desk. There was a very a lovely lady and then a very handsome guy. And our mom is gorgeous. She's an artist. She's a flirt. And she's like, walks right up to the guy and she starts talking to him. And she has, postcards from her art show and she's giving them to him. And then she's talking to the girl because, she's also like in it for me. So she's like, you talk to this guy for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got to talking. He was writing something by hand. I was like, what is that? Oh, it's poetry. I said, oh, I write poetry. He goes, oh, maybe some competitions, some poetry competitions I could be part of. Why don't you give me your email and then I can send you my poetry and you can tell me if you know any poetry competitions.
Hello, this is like a movie.
It is like a movie.
And so, and he's English. He's not Scottish, which is helpful because I could understand his accent.
I was going to say that's got to be, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so we go home
and spotting so many times. I still don't know what they're saying.
I don't understand.
I was watching Department Q and I was like, I got to get out of the house more because I work from home. I was like, that's said in Edinburgh and I don't understand their accents. Like I got to get out of the house. So I go home and he emails me the poems and I was mortified because I was 22. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any competitions. I just never answered the email.
I'm literally choosing so hard. If you're not watching this on YouTube,
it's my favorite story to tell.
It's a great story.
It's my favorite story. And so we became Facebook friends and he became Facebook friends with my mom. And I just always had this like, that guy, I don't know if you've ever had somebody in your life where you're like, that guy, and you can't really explain to people, like, we just talked for 20 minutes at a museum, like, don't know him. But I just like, we would comment on each other's stuff on Facebook every once in a while, little things like that. I get with my ex, I move in with my ex, I get engaged. Right before, actually, the day of my 10-year anniversary with my ex, I like commented on the guy's name is Thomas. He's my husband now, so we can just but I commented on Thomas's Facebook, and he messaged me, and it was a very flirtatious message, and I let him know that I was flattered but engaged, and then I sort of just like kept that in my head. My ex and I break up, and I was like, you know what? I'll reach out to this guy. I'll get a little attention. Like, it'll be fun. We'll have a flirt. And we've always the timing's always been off and I'll see what happens. So we started talking and 2 days into talking, I booked a ticket to Scotland and I went down to tell my parents and my parents were like, what is wrong with you?
Another one going to Scotland? Yeah.
You're insane. You've known this guy for 2 seconds. And I ended up canceling because it was still during COVID restrictions. I was going to have to be in this flat, for 10 days, like under quarantine. But I canceled and he was like, of course, like, I want you to feel safe. I want you to, I always want you to feel safe. And we talked every day and night. I mean, I was with him constantly, Olivia. Like, I was constantly on WhatsApp with him every night. He was on furlough.
Laptop. She was like carrying her laptop around the house.
But he was on furlough, so he wasn't working. So we would stay up like all night talking, fall asleep on Skype together, which RIP Skype. But and we would, and then so October 2021, I came here for 2 weeks, and then I came back for Christmas. And then we were like, it's like just the next step. Like we never even, there was things that we didn't even like talk about. Like, should we do this? Should we not? It was just like, I can come for 6 months. You should come for 6 months. Cause as an American, you can. And we got engaged in December of 2022. And then I came back. I moved here in May of 2023 on a fiance visa, and we got married in September of 2023. And like, I just, it's the craziest thing because he is exactly the person I'm supposed to be with. And if I hadn't walked into the wrong museum, if he had been on like a smoke break, he was splitting his time. He doesn't really work in the museum. He still works for them, but he doesn't work in the museum anymore. So if he had been in the stores where he like sometimes works, I wouldn't have been there. Like, it was just exactly what it was supposed to be.
I always think about that. A lot of people will say to me, I wish I never married my ex at all. And I'm like, I could say that too, but then I wouldn't have my daughter who is my sun, moon, and stars. But also like, my husband now is the greatest thing. Like, I worship him, and I was never anyone to worship a man. He's the most amazing human being. And I'm like, if I had met him at any other time, it just wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have worked. And that's why timing is so amazing.
How did you know him?
Like, I would have been 22. When we met, I was 22. Like, I wasn't going to move to Scotland when I was 22.
Right.
Wait, I want to know
your video. I saw the whole, like, overseas thing, and then I didn't know that it was like okay, this is wow.
Wait, Michelle, how did you meet your husband?
Very similar to what Jenny was saying. Like I saw him one day. He lived in my mom's building. So I live in Miami now. I moved here after a couple of very rough years towards the end of my time on Long Island. She had moved here full time. I was still on Long Island, had a major car accident driving home from Lawrence Hill Road, my boyfriend's house.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
And I got into an accident in Westbury, like quiet road, head-on collision, totally meant to be, shattered everything in my body from the neck down. My mom had to come to New York, move in with me, nurse me back to health. She had just gotten remarried after my stepdad died and moved full-time to Miami. So I'm like, I can't be alone in New York. I moved to Miami, met my ex-husband within seconds, divorced 3 years later. You know, we had Bella. And I would go to my mom's apartment. I would take her. She went to like the local like synagogue here, had a preschool. And so I would pick her up 2:00 in the afternoon, 3:00 in the afternoon. I didn't want to be home alone with her. It was kind of sad and lonely for me. So I'd go walk around the property of my mom's building with the stroller to put her for a nap. And there was always this guy at like 4 or 5 o'clock who I would see either at the valet or he would be on the pier fishing with his daughter. And he was gorgeous. And I'm the most socially awkward human. I was never going to be like, hey. And now I can say the same about him. He's also somewhat socially awkward. But then he started popping up like he was on my LinkedIn feed. And then we were both in the same edition of our city's newspaper. He was on the cover for something he had done with work. I was a couple pages back for something, you know, I was doing with work. And we started chatting on LinkedIn. He wrote, all these guys were like, you know, DMs and Instagram that I didn't even want to open. And then I got a message from him on LinkedIn and it said, very impressive stuff, Michelle. And I was like, what a compliment. You know, like for me,
right. That's
for
what
someone not to compliment what I looked like, which I'll take that too. But for someone to have taken the time to like read what I do and read my articles, I was like, huh. And I knew we had a phone call on a Saturday. He was going to a concert that night. We made plans for the following Saturday. And I knew before the date we'd be getting married.
Yeah.
And I never had that feeling. Like I didn't have that feeling with my ex-husband. I thought something was wrong with me because I had never had that like when you know feeling. And he was the only person I dated after my separation. Now we've been together 8.5 years, married for 6.
It's fascinating. I mean, I always laugh because like people are like, you should be on 90 Day Fiance. And I'm like, well, we're boring. Like like, you know, I watch 90 Day Fiance and they're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to kiss him at the airport. I was like, I ran into his arms and I had never touched him. Like it was a complete stranger to me, but I knew I was so afraid that he was going to propose my first trip here.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, I'd gotten, my parents were like, people are going to think you're crazy. I was like, I don't care. I've grown up my life. It's fine. And now and then I was like, I don't want people, I was like, people will really think I'm crazy if I'm engaged to 2 different guys within like 6 months of each other. I was like, I got to slow that down.
Yeah.
So,
but some of these opportunities, like, you know, these are so meant to be when they're so like
100%
far-fetched and like hard to even believe.
Exactly. He made it very clear like what his intentions were and what he, you know, that he wanted to have me forever. And so I came back and I just kept coming back and now I get to live here, which is amazing. I don't know if you've ever been to Edinburgh, but it's just a very romantic, beautiful, walkable city. And I could never survive a day in Miami. Like it's cool here.
Can't survive a day in Miami.
It's like doesn't get as hot as New York does, and it doesn't get as cold as New York does, and I love that for me.
I love that for you too. No, I am still. I've been here 12.5 years, and I'm still very much like a Northeastern girl, weather-wise, mindset-wise. We just when my daughter left for camp for the summer, my stepdaughter took her senior trip to Europe with friends. And my husband and I were like, let's do something like in the US. I'm like, I want to have a New England summer. You know, we went up to upstate New York. We went to Vermont. We went to Nantucket. And I'm like,
you got to get lobster roll.
That's who I am before. I am so not a Miami girl. Yeah. Anyway, it sounds like we've all had, wait for it. Really fresh.
I love it, Michelle.
Yes.
Oh, you knew what was
we have. And it's very cool. Like, cause so much of what we talk about is how like when you change the things around you change, but also like a wonderful way to support people is by giving them gifting them the things that they need in those moments. And I look around my apartment, like I'm 3,000 miles away from my family, but I have like quilts on my bed that my mom made. And I have, like my sister sends me affirmations and little pictures, and like all of my stuff behind me is like home to me. And I have my grandmother's heirlooms. Like it matters what's around you. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of what we want to impress upon people, is that, like, it's okay. You have to have stuff. So it's okay to like love people that way too.
I totally, I think back, I tell a story all the time, and even to my daughter, about how when it was just her and I in our little townhouse after I separated, I went to Home Goods and I just like bought everything like on the empowerment shelf. It was
Yeah.
like my house was like pink and gold and
Yeah.
flowery and empowering. And it made such a difference to have, I couldn't even afford a new couch, but I had just all this cute, sweet stuff that made it feel
Yeah, I love
like
that.
the best
Yours.
fresh start for me. So
Yeah.
I love, love, love the work that you guys are doing. I will obviously link it all.
We do.
You have a few different Instagram
The best place
accounts.
is Fresh Starts
There's-
Registry. You can just go to Fresh Starts Registry, and then I'm at.
But you're each
Oh, thank
very
you.
equally empowering
Yes.
on your own. So
Yes.
you have to
Thank you.
follow
I'm at
guys
Olivia
too.
Howell.
Yeah. She is Olivia Howell.
What are you, Jenny? No, you're fine.
Yep.
It's okay.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
I'm at
I gotta
Olivia
take that one again,
Howell.
Olivia. And I'm at Genevieve Dreisen, which is quite a long name, but good luck if you find it.
Well, this will be linked everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check the show notes. If you're listening in the car, please wait till you're parked and then check the show notes, click the links, do the things, get behind this. This is, even if you're a few years into your process, even if you're already divorced,
Yeah.
like there's never an end to what we can learn or how we can grow or the support that could benefit us no matter what part of the journey you're on. You know me, I am Michelle Dempsey-Multack. If you are interested in any of our services or programs, please visit michelledempsey.com or come to Instagram, the Michelle Dempsey, and we'll see you next time on the Moving On Method.